Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the World of Momo's podcast. And in today's episodes of Reflections and Reactions, I'm going to reflect on something that has been like some concepts that have been conflated on the political right, as far as I can see here in Britain these days. So, they're two different matters, two different viewpoints on the political right at the moment, and I just want to try to understand them by talking out about them. So, one idea is the preservation of culture, values, and traditions, which coincides with preservation of the indigenous ethnic population. And this is the idea that I subscribe to myself. Like they should be in a healthy majority to help maintain all of it, and give relevance to it. While on the other hand is the idea that the exclusion and hatred of any other ethnicity apart from indigenous ethnicity, up to a point of eliciting disgust at people on the basis of ethnicity. I've seen a lot of memes and stuff about eliciting disgust when it comes to mixed race couples and so on. I think so that's disturbing, and I think so that's extreme ethno-nationalism, as far as I see it, and it is a very fringe minority. And you have to understand this eliciting of the disgust thing is not actually a new thing. It's a very old thing to do, to create these ethnic hatred amongst each other. They build resentment and hatred and don't give a fuller picture of the situation, and just pits one people against each other. Now I see most of the intellectual class in the former category, as I explained. Um, on the right, those who want to be traditionalist conservatives. Because being a traditionalist would demand one to be in the former category, as I explained, to maintain the nation's traditional values, believing that it's not separate. Your ethnicity is not completely separate from your culture and values. I think most people would agree with that, as well as though, um, including people like me who are not related ethnically to a tribe that they want to be part of, or claim to be a part of, right? But most people don't articulate it properly, I think so, or they don't want to, for fear of the extreme ethno-nationalists subverting their message to mean hatred of another. But there are obviously nefarious people on all sides who try to subvert core messages to fit their needs, and we have to be cautious of them. But that doesn't mean we should give up all the intellectual arguments, and shut down conversations. Um, the preservation of indigenous ethnic population, I know this like case sort of personally, being married to a Pole. you know um, the society works because they understand the importance of maintaining their traditions linked with their ethnic connections, but it's not just linked with their ethnic connections as well. They are welcoming of other people in their tribe if they meet us, if they sort of meet a certain criteria, if they fit a certain criteria. you know I mean, I'm very much welcomed in my wife's family and extended family, and a lot of people I know over there. I know there are people, probably they're extreme ethno-nationalist. Over here it might be a very minute fringe. Over there it might be a bigger fringe, so to speak. But the sensible people understand the importance of that. And there are people like the extreme ethno-nationalists. They believe that ethnicity is the end all and be all for maintaining cultural and traditional values. I think so that's again another fallacy on the right, on the political right, which is, because it's obviously not the case when you see many indigenous people in Britain being on the far left, and turning out to be the enablers of the ills of the society. um, and it's not like they're doing any favors. They're actually enabling Islamists and other people um, to communists and so on. They're communists themselves, and to destroy the traditions themselves. So they are invested in the destruction of traditions of this country themselves, being indigenously ethnic, ethnically indigenous, I meant. So that is something that is conflated on that side of the argument that believes in the importance of maintaining indigenous ethnicity. That, and it's not that they might not be racist as such, but they will never be accepting of another as their own, even if assimilated and not just integrated. you know and I do think all sides of all arguments are conflating many things when it comes to it, because we haven't had these in Britain, people haven't had to think about such things for a while. So it will take an intellectual process to come out of to come out on the other side. And it's important, like I said, we don't shut down discussions for fear of one or another. uh, while we are in the process, it might take a generation or two, who knows. I think that's um, I think so. The people, the differences between why people are leaning more towards sorry about that, why people are leaning more towards civic nationalism on in the political right, as opposed to ethno-nationalism, as well, or not as opposed to ethno-nationalism, but not recognizing or not wanting to recognize the valid points on the ethno-nationalist side. I think so that's mainly because the Brits in general, as I said, haven't had to think these things in a while, because immigration was always kept in low manageable numbers, where integration and assimilation was not just encouraged, but sort of became necessary for the external population to thrive uh, amongst the native, right? So, with the mass numbers, and especially mass numbers who are anti West flooding in, those old notions are being severely challenged, and it will take some time. But also, those who have been on the ground for some time, which I mean, like for some time, is in 20 or 30 years or whatever, with street protests and stuff like that, who are on the political right but not ethno nationalist, they are hyper aware of the dangers of the extreme ethno nationalists, as they come across them a lot. And they know what those people think and what those people actually want. They want complete exclusion of like anyone apart from uh, ethnically white people, and they they elicit hate and disgust towards even the mixed race people, those who have assimilated, and so on and so on. So I understand the fears of civic nationalists. That's what I'm trying to say. um, and I'm probably, it's in my best interest to understand their fears, because, like, me being not being ethnically indigenous to this country, I might be in danger of that. Probably am in danger of that as well. But I think we are very much running on the one or the other mentality within the political right when it comes to it, either ethno nationalist or civic nationalist, right? And I don't think that's a viable solution for the future of the nation. you know, because when it comes to extreme ethno-nationalist, I fear that it can corrupt the souls of the people completely. And on the other side of the extreme civic nationalism, where they're not even recognizing the differences that are created because of ethnicities and stuff, the other side can dilute the national identity and structures to meaninglessness. Um, Completely disintegrated over time, and it won't mean anything then. So I think so. There's an opportunity over here where we can have an amalgamation of the two, the healthier parts of the two, and create systems where it's not easy for external people to take advantage of the native population and the generosity or the good nature of the native population, to make those laws and legislations very robust, and to be able to take out the factors that don't mean the nation well, be decisive about such things, and not be, civilizationally suicidal, not have suicidal empathy, so to speak. So yeah, those are sort of my thoughts on that point, because I see a lot, like in the political right, some people who are center right sometimes becoming very extremist in their views, or are moving towards extremist views as well, or people who are even not on the center right but just political right are moving towards over there, because people are not having honest discussions and they want to shut down discussions. So they're like, probably going like, what, to hell with it all, like I'm just going to go to the extreme of it, because you're not going to listen to me otherwise, or you're not going to listen to me anyways, right? So I see a lot of people, and there is a point of it which I do agree with, when people say, immigrants who aren't born over here should not be allowed to stand in elections, for public offices and stuff. I agree with that. I don't think so, and I don't. In that same way, I don't think so. I should be ever allowed to be an MP, or even a local councillor and so on. I think that creates issues, as I've mentioned in the previous episode before as well. And but because I believe that if you love the nation as I do, there's other ways of serving it without having to assert yourself in every single situation available to the native population, right? So there are other ways to serve. So they should be parts within governance, restrictive parts, and so on, where not immigrants, I think so, like, but immigrants who have become citizens, I think so, citizenship should be the first, and then you should have very robust criteria for the citizenship as well, not what we have right now. We should be a lot stronger, but only citizens can be within the governance of the country, local or national, right? So till that point, perhaps you should not be. But there are some people who would say, like, even then, or they would say like any immigrant should not be allowed citizenship. Well, then citizenship doesn't mean anything, right? Because citizenship is a way for a tribe to accept external people, because you don't need citizenship then, right? If you're going to just exclude, if you're going to be extreme ethno-nationalist, then you don't need citizenship, because you don't need anyone to be integrated. You're just, based on your ethnicity and stuff. And I don't think so. Those ideas, like, people are so attached to old ideas, because I think, and especially on the political right, because they lack a lot of imagination. um, they just want to parrot all ideas, or they want to go back to the old times and stuff. Well, that's old times in terms of how the systems worked over there. Well, we didn't have the same technology, we didn't have the same integration of trade, international trade and stuff, and how we conduct ourselves, and each nation, how the relationships are, how the geopolitics work, and so on and so on. So we can't go back to something that's the only way that we could go back to it is if we destroy all the accomplishments so far, and then revert to, and that's sort of like, Marxist ideology. That's where the arc, I think so, meet up with the far left and the far right. Maybe they want to they don't care, they want what they want, even if the whole country is destroyed in the process, right? They rather the whole country is destroyed in the process, so that they can revert to what they think is the man's natural form. Yeah. So I think so. There is a lot of discussions that need to be had in this particular field, in this particular thought process, and we need to understand all the sides of the argument while trying to maintain that there is no detriment to the national culture, values and traditions and stuff. I think this is why most people currently politically, if you think about it, people are sort of peed off at Reform Party with Nigel Farage not saying that he's not concerned about the replacement of the English, or the displacement, replacement, whatever you want to call it. That he's not concerned about it, and I feel that that's not a right way to put across your message to people who are completely concerned about their culture, values, and traditions. Like, I am concerned about the replacement or dwindling numbers of the native English population, because I know if their numbers are not in majority, then their culture, values, and traditions that I love and that I want to integrate into and that I want to assimilate with will not be kept as original, and will only be a fluff of nothingness, right? Meaninglessness, as I said before. This is what that sort of extreme at civic nationalism is proposing. Yeah, it's sort of like a fantasy world Star Trek mentality. So I don't think so that works as well. It is a complex matter. I think so. We have to think about it more and more, but we also have to take out. Basically, I think so. We need to take out the over emotions from it, right? We need emotional connection. You need to have an emotional connection, a sentimental and emotional connection with a country to be a part of that country. Obviously, otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. But we should not be completely led by our emotions as well when we are trying to discuss these things. We have to see what works, what doesn't work, what used to work, and what might work. That's why I'm very much in favor of Anglo-futurism. I think so. You should look into it if you haven't. I like this idea of forward thinking, of taking the traditions that made a nation from the past, but facilitating a way to take them into the future and not being stuck in the past. And that's the key over here, right? So there's one set of people who want to go really ahead without recognizing the importance of the past, and the other people who want to be just stuck in the past, right? We can't have this. It's not good for the future of the country, I think so. Anyways, those were my thoughts. I hope that you engage with such thoughts, with an open mind, and not try to take meaning where meaning was not given. Anyways, take care, be good, and thank you so much for listening.